It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley as we begin a Wednesday. Gary, how are you?
Hanging in there.
All right.
You ready?
I don't know.
All right, here's Kamala last night.
So in this campaign, I will proudly put my record against his any day of the week. Any day of the week. Including, for example, on the issue of immigration.
There you go. There's where we are right now. A lot happened yesterday. We'll get to some of the Secret Service FBI testimony before the Senate. By the way, I do have another audio cut here just very quickly. This is Kari Lake winning the primary in Arizona.
I also want to thank the people who voted for me. I'm pretty sure everybody in this room did. Thank you very much.
And so there you go. As we end July and we get into August, I started thinking on the way in, you know, the polls are all over the place. Did you see what was it? I forgot which one it was. The morning consult poll that showed that Harris is up 11 in Michigan.
Yeah.
Now, let's put it this way. You have to question everything about that poll when it shows that she's up by 11, because if you look at the previous polls, every single poll, if you go back, you know, since then, either it's a tie or Trump is up by a point or two.
Right.
So you're telling me there's up to a 13-point swing in 9 days? No, I wouldn't agree with that at all.
No.
And then you look at the Harvard-Harris poll that came out yesterday that showed that Trump is up 4, and then a couple of other polls. By the way, Trump in the Real Clear Politics average keeps, you know, slowly going up.
Mm-hmm.
He's at 2 right now. Nate Silver came out and now predicts that Trump will win, but he'll lose the popular vote, but win the states. And so you look at this, and we'll get to the Harvard Harris poll, because the interesting thing is, if you look at the polls, what the polls are telling you is that by a wide margin, and I mean a wide margin, people disagree completely with what Kamala Harris stands for.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, you can't change the basis of who she is and what she believes.
No, but there's a huge disconnect in the polling. Now, whether that's the reality of what will happen come November is completely a different animal. But that's what it shows right now, that people that completely disagree with Kamala Harris, probably 10, 12, 13% of the voters, maybe 15% of the voters, will vote for her anyway, even though they disagree on the issues. And I was thinking yesterday, in fact, let me just look here. I want to go to let me get to it here. Some of the things on the actual polling here we go. 27% of Democrats in the Harvard-Harris poll that shows Trump up 4. 27% of Democrats said there should have been more competition to nominate Biden's replacement. 60% of independents said there should be more competition. So that's key there. It shows that Democrats don't care about democracy right there. This is the voter. This is what we said before. 53% said if Kamala Harris is the nominee, she definitely will lose in November. 68% said they oppose open borders. 69% believe that Kamala Harris is for open borders, including 56% of Democrats and 70% of independents. 62% said they oppose ending private health care for all. 53% believe that Harris is for ending private health care. 72% are against electric car mandates. 72% believe Kamala Harris is for electric car mandates. That means you almost have half of Democrats there if you break that down. 56% say Trump's Reaction to being shot was extraordinary, including 42% of Democrats and 57% of independents. 14 items on the GOP platform poll over 80%. 4 poll between 70 and 79%. 2 poll at 62%, one of which is that carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. We'll get to some more of the specifics on that one, but it shows that the polls are showing that absolutely across the board as to what she believes, and that's why she's slowly changing and trying to convince Americans, that she's been tough on the border and everything else. I don't know if she can sell that or not. But let me tell you, I started thinking on the way into work, what are Democrats thinking right now? And I'll tell you what Democrats are thinking right now. Democrats are redoing what they did in 2020. They want to keep Kamala Harris from answering any questions except from friendly media. She is not going to be questioned like Trump. I saw yesterday, and it was X site that was pro DeSantis, but saying, it said, look, I was pro DeSantis, wanted DeSantis to win, but Trump's got to win here, and he's got to be able to answer questions directly. And this was going after him talking to Laura Ingraham about, debating. Well, I don't know if I'm going to debate her. And then he goes off into something else. He goes, well, why won't you debate her? Well, we don't know if she's but why won't you debate her? Why won't you say you will debate her if she's this? Why are you backing off? And this one ex was just furious, saying, stop winging it. The Democrats believe that Trump will do exactly what he did in 2020, which is sabotage his own election. That's what Democrats believe. Democrats believe that Kamala Harris would if they allowed her to speak as freely as Donald Trump speaks, right now. That's what they believe. Democrats believe that the Trump campaign is not interested in women at all, getting women at all. They feel that by picking JD Vance and then what has happened since then, whether it was out of context or not, would not have happened if they would have picked Youngkin. They don't believe that Donald Trump is actually in the campaign, is looking at, I'm telling you what Democrats believe. They don't believe that the Trump campaign is seriously looking and was seriously considering the fact that they could lose this election if Kamala Harris got in. And they view the pick of J.D. Vance as a weak pick. They look at it and say, oh, my God, you should have gone for Youngkin if you're trying to go for women. And plus, that almost guarantees you Virginia. And so that Donald Trump is not looking, the campaign is not looking at this strategically. That's what they believe. They understand their weaknesses. We've heard, off the record, New York Times, whatever, that they're worried like crazy about where she stands on the issues. I'm simply telling you where the hope is for Democrats, what they're looking at. They believe that because I look at some of the polls out there, like the one in Michigan, I go, that's so bogus to begin with, and I would not be surprised if there are pollsters out there that want to skew the polls, because we've seen across the board, whether it's the media, whether it's the FBI, whether it's the intelligence agencies, across the board, we've seen the perversion of everything. So that could be happening in some of the polls. I wouldn't put that beyond the realm of possibilities, because you look at that poll and you go, there's got to be major errors in that Michigan poll. But that's what Democrats think right now. They believe that Trump will destroy his own campaign because they believe he's done it before in 2020. That's what they believe, that he will wing it too much. If the polls start moving in the direction, even if the polls are not accurate because the samples suck, they believe he will panic. He will get angrier. They believe no concern to go after women from this campaign, and that's how they win. They also believe, the Democrats, that women are idiots. They believe that the women of this country are like the women that we saw, women for Harris, that they're full of guilt. They're full of guilt, that many of them they understand that they're racist. They're full of guilt, as we saw last night for women of Kamala Harris. I'm telling you what Democrats believe right now. This is what they hope, their path their path is. And they look to California. They look at places like California and Illinois and New York, that the prices and the cost of living and the regulation and everything that goes on there, that they still succeed in those states. And they look at California specifically and they say, women don't care. Women don't care about prices. Women don't care. Let me put it this way. Single women don't care about prices. They make more money. They're not like married women. The single, childless women, that's why we're going after that demographic, because it's increasing largely. That's part of the success that we've had in California and Illinois and New York. And Trump has just thrown that out the window where they don't care about that whatsoever. JD Vance being the pick showed that, because Youngkin had success, great success, and that's what the Democrats are thinking right now. I'm not saying it's going to succeed. I'm just telling you what they're thinking.
It was very clear last week watching this all play out, and I really stepped outside of it because I was sick, but I thought I'm going to put myself in the mindset of somebody who isn't watching every day. I actually was doing more show prep than I normally do because I didn't have anything else going on. But the thought was, and it was clear by the end of the week, that Democrats were in line, and by the way, you probably saw the story, I think it was Associated Press or Reuters. Officials believe Russians are already trying to interfere with the 24 election. And I thought, well, yeah, they are, because the Clintons endorsed Kamala almost right away. So, of course, they're involved now. Yeah. That's what the Clintons paid good money for. And this is and I said it Monday when I came back. I said, look, there is this tone now with this. It's more than unison. It is that same mindset that is fully 100% back in play now. That was not in play when Biden was the nominee. And that was, we'll do anything. They didn't want to do anything when it was Biden because they didn't want Biden to win. They didn't want Biden in that chair. Once he decided to be gone and it was Kamala, it didn't matter who it is. This is not about Kamala Harris. In 2020, it wasn't about Joe Biden. It's about defeating Trump. It's about defeating the right. Because they see what I've seen for a long time, and we are at that crossroads. If the left can keep winning elections, and they can win a big one like 2024, then there's no stopping them. And I'm convinced we won't ever stop them. They'll be doing whatever they want to do in classrooms with whoever they want reading story time to your kids. The border will be wide open. Inflation will be running, rampant because of the spending with all the programs. If they can win now, tell me when they can't win. Tell me what would defeat them. With everything that we're dealing with, the reality, if they can win now, then all bets are off. And that's the question. But they're betting on this tactic working, and it's everything. It's everything. This is so much bigger. I said this Monday. This is so much bigger than Russian collusion. It's everything. You just change the reality of everything. Lies. That word's way too small for what they're doing right now. They're creating this delusional state that she's the second coming, that all of a sudden it's going to be that Kamala Harris was always going to be the nominee, and that this has been a calling for a long time for everybody on the left. Well, no, that wasn't the case just a few weeks ago. And the liberal media knows it, but it doesn't matter. You get in line, you change your tone. And don't you dare say borders are. Well, and those are the tactics.
Well, the point is, as you've seen, those really haven't I don't believe they've worked, because that's why you see the majority of the media dropping that now.
I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing, is that we're none of us know if it's going to work until November 5th. I don't
right.
believe they're working either.
Right.
But it is the effort. And that effort is, again, much bigger than just the Clintons and what they were doing, as sophisticated as the Russian hoax was. This is everybody on board.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about today. 866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. On a hot summer day, the last thing you want to feel is a blast of warm air when you turn on your air conditioning. A malfunctioning AC system will leave you uncomfortably shifting in your seat. Not to mention, it can affect the safety and performance of your entire vehicle and your productivity. Keep your AC system running smooth and your deliveries on schedule this summer with the following maintenance tip. Make sure the condenser on the front of your cab is clean, and double check that your compressor belt is tight and in good condition.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. And so that's when you look at, for example, the Harvard-Harris X poll that shows 14 items in the GOP platform poll over 80%, 4 poll between 70 and 79, 2 poll at 62%, one of which is carry out the largest deportation operation in American history, polls in at 62%. I mean, that's, when you look at that, that's massive numbers. So if you take the average of those polls, and this is what we've said if you've listened to the show, roughly 70% of Americans overall on the issues and the voters agree with Trump, 70%. Well, that means you've got 20 to 25%. If he's only polling, anywhere between 40 and 50, 45 and 50%, that means 25% of Americans absolutely are passionate about certain items, but they won't vote for the person. And that reminds me, we go back to 2012 when that happened with Mitt Romney, which shows you that likability is a huge issue. And understand, and I do believe this is the way the Democrats are thinking. I do think that Democrats look at California and say, no matter what we do to punish the people there, we still get the women voter. And that's why they look at women, especially when we saw the white women for Harris yesterday, and the absolute white guilt that they feel, the racism that they feel. The Democrats believe that women that vote for them are idiots and are emotional nightmares, and they view the women that vote for them as like the women on The View. And that money doesn't matter to them. It's emotion. They operate purely on emotion and not critical thinking. That's what Democrats think.
Yeah.
And that's why they believe they have a shot at this election with Kamala Harris.
Yeah. Look, and again, it's all hands on deck and guns a-blazing. It's every tactic they've used, and everybody uses every tactic. It is no longer, so-and-so is going to be on the sidelines. They're all in. And those are the things, that's really what concerned me coming back Monday. What I was really trying to convey is that was what I was getting. I was nervous. It was like, okay, we've said it. I don't know how long. We've said this. You always campaign like you're 20 points behind, and I up that on Monday morning, like you're 40 or 50 points behind. You campaign like that Michigan poll is actually under-polling, and that you're 20 points behind in Michigan. You do everything you can every single day, and you stay focused.
Observing and analyzing the insanity. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara. Nightly on Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. So, by the way, download our Red Eye Radio app, and you can listen during the day, okay, to our show overnight.
And thank you.
And so you listen now, and then you listen again.
Right, yeah. Twice per day. That's all we ask.
Right, so you get it through your thick skull what the right way is.
What are you doing? Hey, didn't you get it?
All right, so I told you what Democrats are thinking right now, okay, what Democrats are thinking. So what should the response be from the Republicans? I actually think, for the most part, especially on the ads, they're right on.
Yeah.
You keep playing. Doesn't matter whether she starts flip-flopping. You come out with the ad saying, this is what she said. She's trying to make you believe now that the election is clear, the election is near, and they're desperate that she has changed her opinion on these things. We know that's a lie. And then you play that over and over again. So you change the ads a little bit. I think Trump and Vance, I don't think they should be doing as many interviews as they do. You don't need to do interviews. You tailor, you become more disciplined. Now, I will say this. I believe that this campaign for Trump is way more disciplined than 2020.
Yeah.
And I've given them credit for that. I think for the most part, they're on the right thing. I still, and this is something that has been, pounding on me, and I know you for the longest time, that number one on the whole women thing. Republicans should own that Democrats are anti-women based on one thing and one thing only, and that's the radical transgender movement.
Yep.
You can pound that day in and day out, and they don't. Part of the problem with Republicans, now I'll say this, on inflation and the border, they're doing a much better job. But the cultural issues are still important. And when they use the cultural issues against you, as they did with JD Vance, then you should hit right back and say, excuse me? And you should use the words like the misogynists of the Democratic Party. The misogynists. Have you heard Trump or Vance once say 99% of the Democrats in Congress and Harris want men to use women's bathrooms and want men to compete with women? And the intimidation that went on to these young college women, the intimidation, the threats, and everything, the misogyny of the Democratic Party has gone to unheard levels. They should do that, and they should do the same thing with identity politics. The exact same thing. And they just, on those issues, I don't know why they don't seem to get it. It's so easy because the misogyny of you've seen it. You've seen what Democrat women, the elite Democrat women, are like. They're filled with racial guilt. You saw that. We played you the audio cuts from last night. They understand we're racists. And we're racist. But they're calling it soft bigotry. Soft bigotry, but they're racist. They're full of racial guilt. And the Democrats are looking at that and saying, this is our in. Well, what you need to do is tell women that we want to make your life easier. And you can direct it towards them. You can say men, women. They should be constantly saying out of their mouth, constantly, men, women, blacks, Hispanics, everyone. They should be leading every single speech with this. Everyone. We have a broad table with you because 80% of you agree with this. 82% of you agree with this. 74% of you agree with this. Just go right down the line and you go through the racism and the identity politics of the Democratic Party. You go through it. Be much more disciplined. And for Trump, nobody gives a damn about pop culture and what they're doing. I saw yesterday. Now, granted, he covers a lot of topics, but the topic of Mike Johnson yesterday was going after the Olympics, the opening games of the Olympics. Nobody cares about that for their vote in November.
That doesn't affect their life.
Nobody cares about it. You don't need to bring. You can sit there and just it's just ridiculous. But this is where the left is, and then you go right back to the talking points of the issues that the vast majority of Americans, and we're talking according to the Harvard Harris poll, 60 to 80, over 80% of Americans agree with you on all the major issues. That's the frustrating thing. And you're like, well, the polls shouldn't even be close right now. What's going on? It's how you message, and you know that that's something that we have been a stickler for since we've been doing talk radio.
Yeah. Well, and the whole thing that I have a problem with, whether it's Speaker Johnson or any of the Republicans on Capitol Hill, is that they this whole leading, from behind, complaining, well, I'm outraged days later, after it's already had the saturation on social media. And we have said this, social media is going to do your heavy lifting on those types of issues. Stay focused. Stay focused on the big game, on winning in 24, but also on everything that's broken right now that people have to deal with that does affect their life every single day. And, it really is cumbersome watching Republicans get up there days later after something happens. It's usually if something happens on a Friday, and then Monday or Tuesday of the following week, we hereby condemn dude, that played out for days on social media. That's over. And it's on smaller topics. You don't need to do that. We understand, and you can acknowledge those things in passing, but don't make that the brunt of your effort. Don't make that the focus of a press conference. You need to stay focused on the election, on the issues, and right now you win on the issues.
Oh, yeah, easily. If America votes on the issues, you win in a landslide.
Yep.
And we know that likability matters. And by the way, that's another part that the Democrats are doing. Just have her out there smiling all the time.
Right.
Just have her smiling. I'm optimistic. Well, if Trump's out there growling about everything, I'm optimistic because they understand that a significant portion of the population votes for likability. Now, the problem for Democrats is when you have inflation like this and when everything seems to be a disarray and when the public itself says that your candidate is in line with the current incumbent president, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And so it's like, where are we right now? Do Americans actually care about the issues and will they vote that way? Or is it still the cult of personality that drives a significant portion of independence? That'll be decided in November. But that's still up for grabs. But those are the two contrary things. Likability in an election that always matters, but then the issues, and specifically the issues like inflation, as we saw with Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. Mm-hmm. And so we're really not going to know. We may not know because I really don't trust. Like I said, when you see the one poll that came out, the Morning Consult poll that shows that Harris is up by 11 points. You and I went through it. It was like
Michigan,
last Tuesday, Trump was up by 2. These are different polls now. Thursday by 1. It was a tie on Saturday, and then you get to this portion of the week, and all of a sudden it's up 11 points. That didn't happen.
Yeah, that did not happen.
And I do think that Democrats love that because they believe that if Trump believes it's closing in and he could lose, that's where he'll lose it and will not. And they already believe he has not campaigned to win the election, and they view that by picking Vance instead of Youngkin.
I'm with you on something, too, on the pollsters. I think that I think there's a very strong possibility that some of the pollsters look at this as, all right, look, in the end, looking back, it may be an outlier. But right now, because she's brand new, an outlier like this one in Michigan, which clearly is just, there's no way you can convince me it's accurate. That kind of swing didn't happen in a few days. That just didn't happen. But they're not trying to convince the wonks who pay attention. They're trying to throw it out there. She's leading by 11 points in Michigan to the people who have no idea about the other polls. And if those pollsters are indeed trying to, skew these numbers, which I think there's a strong possibility a number of them are, they're media-driven, then I don't think they would have a problem at all putting this out. In fact, it would be a tactic that would be right out of the Clinton-Obama playbook. And that is, Well, yeah, it might be an outlier, but since it's fresh and she's brand new, then it looks like she's surging. There's no way that happened in Michigan. No way. There might have been a couple points. I can't tell you that, but it wasn't an 11 or 12, 13-point swing.
What was it? I saw yesterday 2 different polls. Trump up 4 in Pennsylvania, Harris up 4 in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
That's a difference of 8 points.
Yeah. Right.
So it's so volatile right now. This is where it's a whole different ballgame when you get to September. And, we look at you've seen the economic numbers out there. Things aren't going to improve before November.
Right.
They're just going to get worse. And so you look at that and, we see what happens. People don't realize that. Remember the Hillary campaign and how much she was up, and everything changed 3 weeks before.
Right.
Everything changed, and people said, okay, what are we going to do here? How are we going to vote? But I'm telling you what Democrats believe, because it's important for the Trump campaign to understand it, because if they were caught off guard by the Harris thing, wow, then that's on them.
Yeah,
you see,
right.
Well, we were, they heard some of that. Well, we were caught off guard. What are you talking about? Everybody knew this was going to happen.
Right.
That this was a distinct possibility.
It's one of the last things I said before I went on my COVID vacation. I said, look, everything has to come together. Clooney and Obama have to get on board. And while I was out, they did. But the point is that if I could see it, why couldn't their campaign see it? Because you should expect that one of two things is going to happen. That the Democratic Party, including Obama, including Clooney, the de facto chairman, they are they are all looking at this and they have to all right, you got to concede, or that it's going to be her, and don't focus too much on her, just focus basically on building this persona of her, and which is what they did with Obama. Nobody knew anything about him. And you just build this persona. Now, he had a much longer rise politically than she did. She went through, the in 2019, dropping out, losing money and everything else. But the point is, if they didn't do that, it was going to be, a brokered convention? You think the Democrats were going to let that happen? Then all of a sudden, you've got 4 or 5 different names being thrown out, and they can't get it together. This is what I was saying before, I was gone, and that was they all have to get on board. In order for this to work, Obama has to come out, and I joked about George Clooney having to come out, but there has to be everybody in play, and there can't really be any exceptions. And yes, we know they don't all have the confidence in her. Maybe none of them have the confidence in her, but it doesn't matter. You're trying to convince people that something is real when it's not, and they're pretty good at that. That's a woman, not a man.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yesterday when we played some of the audio of white dudes for Harris,
yeah,
and the one guy that we were like, who is this guy? I didn't recognize him at all, and he was like whining, and he was, and they go after her, and she smiles, and she dances, and she laughs, and that was Sean Astin,
yeah,
the actor.
Wow.
Rudy is a sissy boy.
Yeah, trying to be the victim. And man, I'm telling you, the play on social media yesterday, that was just getting hammered over and over again. Who was it? Was it Matt Taibbi?
Oh, even
that said,
the Daily
thank you
Show.
so much for basically writing all and creating all of the ads for the Republicans, because it just, you can grab so many moments out of that whole thing and make an ad out of it.
The Daily Show pounded on it.
Yeah.
It was, you're right. It was really, really, really bad.
I mean, it just, those are the things on social media that fly back. Those are the things, by the way, that the campaign and the Republican Party, they don't have to focus on those things. You don't need to do that. The heavy lifting by people like Matt Taibbi and others that are well respected on social media is going to be done for you.
Right. Now you can still run ads.
Yeah. And no doubt. Yeah, no, run the ads all day long.
Right.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up here in a little bit, we'll have some of the audio from the Secret Service officials and FBI officials testifying before the Senate yesterday. But look, when last hour, when we were talking about, when I was talking about what the Democrats are thinking right now, that's only one side of it. I'm just telling you what Democrats are thinking. What Republicans are thinking right now, I'm talking about the campaign, is that it is about the issues.
Yeah,
that they're going to pound, especially in those swing states. They're going to pound these ads like you can't believe. They're going to challenge her and tell the American public, mostly through their ads, and hopefully very disciplined rallies, interviews, whatever, stick to those 5 or 6 topics that you've got 70 to over 80%. Well, I'll go from 60 to over 80%. And we're talking on the, wow, it would be, let me see, the 20 top issues out there, according to Harvard-Harris poll, where two rank above 60%, including mass deportation.
Right.
62%. To way over 80% for 14 of the issues on the Trump campaign platform.
Mm-hmm.
Those are numbers you never see. You never see. And so I know the Trump campaign's looking at that going, that's where we win. That's where we pound it. And I'm sure the Trump campaign is looking and saying, okay, you're going to get these numbers that are floating all over the place. You've got Americans really that, for the last almost week have been paying attention to the Olympics. It's the Olympics, it's summertime, everything else. When we get back to September, then it's back to reality. You said yesterday that hit me and I never commented on it because when you speak, you're so powerful. I don't think it needs anybody to add anything to it. Is when you said yesterday, because this is really important, school's going back in session, and that's always a cost.
Yeah.
That's always that cost coming up.
We always called it the second Christmas.
Yep. That
the year.
That's a cost coming up right now.
Yeah.
You and I have been paying attention to the economic numbers out there, not looking good.
Right.
Consumers now pulling back, which means they don't have the money or they've run out of credit.
Right.
And then school is starting. Everything else that comes up at this time of the year.
McDonald's earnings, I think, the other day was another key factor that shows what we're pulling back on because let's face it. It's certainly not the healthiest food. I don't think they've had served salads in years. For years, I don't think they have a grilled chicken sandwich on their menu anymore. It's junk food. It's fast food. And we used to make the trade. okay, well, it's fast. I'll eat it. It's fine. Or I like the taste anyway. No problem. But it's cheap. That's the payoff. It's not the case anymore, and it's ridiculous that, I mean, you look at the menu prices and look, they're having to pay. They're having to pay their suppliers. They're having to. This is how inflation works. It is compounding, but it tells you it's part of the story of what's going on at the retail level, whether it's restaurants or shopping for back to school. It is not good for families, and they have to make choices.
I got a couple of emails, and it's something that we've talked about just in the I think I've got 2 in the last week, which was interesting, talking about inflation. It was really on the cost of car insurance and home insurance, all that kind of stuff, which are huge costs that when you look at every time they come down, we all look at it and go, oh. And I got 2 different emails specifically on that going, what about nobody talks about the inflation on? Well, we have talked about the inflation of that. In fact, we've talked about the super core inflation, which is what actually people have to buy in their life. Right. And that's way over the 20% inflation rate that we've seen over the past couple of years. And both these people are saying that their car insurance, homeowners insurance, in some cases doubled. One guy told me tripled.
Yeah.
In it, and so he's scrambling to do it. Those are big monetary decisions that you have to pay. You have no choice.
Yeah.
And so, that's still coming up. This is still Trump's election to lose.
Oh, yeah.
In my humble opinion. So don't mistake what I was saying before. Those are not my opinions. They're my opinions on what I believe the Democrats think.
Right.
It's not what I think. I think that, again, for the most part, they've done what they have to do. You stick to the issues that affect the people every day. If you don't win on that, there's nothing you can do. Then the country's going to hell. Well, look, if people don't care about the actual issues, that would. But I believe that they do. The campaign believes that they do, because those are the majority of Americans have never seen inflation like this. The majority of Americans alive have never seen this.
Right.
And so I've seen it because I'm one of the minority that's older. And so you keep pounding it. You can frame. She has flip-flopped so heavily on a couple of things that where she said, I'll stack my record of immigration to Trump anytime. Oh, my God. I went, well, that's an ad right there.
Oh, yeah.
Here's what she said. This is where she's lying to you, and you all know she's not telling you the truth. And I think the word lie should be used more from the surrogates. And the surrogates out there for Trump, I believe, have to be stronger. Well, and more focused when dealing with liberal anchors, not ankles. Liberal ankles are really bad.
Or liberal ankles. We can go into that. But it is, it is important that the surrogates that are out there, the official surrogates, but also the rank and file, because the left is counting on people not paying attention, as they always do. This is where you must be, again, it's at every turn. The truth works in your favor right now if you're a Republican. You're going to have to stay on it. And you don't rest on your laurels. And they're going to make up anything and everything and throw it and hope that people aren't paying attention and don't have the will, and this goes back to the willfully ignorant, to go do just a simple Google search. This is different than 2020. 2020, they counted on, keep in mind, there were no vaccines. In fact, during that debate, that one debate when Trump said, well, no, we're going to get the vaccines will be available within weeks, the liberal media and the Democrats laughed at him. Well, they weren't available by Election Day. So the Democrats still had the fear, and we can have the discussion on, the fallout after the vaccines and everything else. But at that time, we're talking about the mindset of the American people collectively, of the American voter on Election Day in 2020. People still had that fear in their minds, and that's exactly what the Democrats used. They, in fact, built more fear by hiding Joe in a basement. Now, all of us critical thinkers knew what they were doing, but it was, social distance. And those are the things that they counted on then. They had the cover of the storm. So you could come in and everybody ducks their head in the rain. It's only water, but you duck your head anyway. Well, that's what was happening in 2020. Now we're back to 2016 and every other tactic they've used with, again, all hands on deck. This has to be politically the Hail Mary of all Hail Marys. Create something in someone like a Kamala Harris, a persona that doesn't exist. But again, the Democrats are very good at doing that. I'm not saying successful. I'm saying this is what they do, and they practice this over and over again. Liberal transgender movement and everything else, they are delusional, and they get people to agree. They get still people voting for them. They motivate people to get to the polls. Those are things, those are your realities that you cannot let go of, and you can't lose focus.
Well, when you, again, when you look at the average of the polls, and as we've always stated, that on the issues, roughly 70% of the people agree with Trump on all the issues out there. If you take it, and now with the Harris poll, probably even more. It might be close to 75% agree on the issues with Trump, and not just one or two, but 15 to 20 of the issues. And so that's why you see Kamala Harris attempting to flip-flop. Well, the flip-flop you can use at your advantage because everyone knows she's clueless to begin with, and everybody knows her history of being on the far left, so you can keep playing it. And I can just see the media going, it's not going to work. Oh, the Republicans are lying about where she stands today because they're playing all the audio cuts of where she used to stand. And she's changed her mind on everything. That isn't a very good. They believe they can convince people of that because that's. I go back to the fireman in September of 2008. The guy I used to that was there when I used to do my skating, my hockey workouts.
Right back, after your figure skating workouts. Back-to-back workouts.
When I was still a stud. An athletic stud. But I'll never forget him coming, a very conservative guy, and he came up to me that time and went, that Obama is a lot more conservative than I thought. I said, oh, you just started paying attention recently. Well, yeah, about a week after the convention. I go, yeah, he's moving to the middle. That's not where he stands.
That's what they've always counted on.
And that's what they're hoping right now. But the fact is, he was new. She's not new.
Right.
And the policies, the difference between an Obama and her are the policies she's already that she's already agreed to and has a history with. I don't believe that when that September of 2008, that audio had come out yet about where he said, where Obama said, to the San Francisco Chronicle that he would kill the coal industry, and his goal is to skyrocket electricity prices. That audio, I don't believe, came out until 2009, even though it was like a year old.
Yeah, the interview happened before then, but it was not prevalent. It didn't get the circulation on social media that it got until after the election.
Right.
But, and that's the thing, too, and I mentioned this the other morning, and that is there was a calling for Obama. It now was based on, I think, the fact that, especially with the party, well, he has no baggage. Nobody knows who he is. Nobody, let's build this persona out of nothing. And there was a calling for him. It was quite the opposite with Kamala Harris. There is no calling for her. They're trying to make it seem like there's been a calling for her all along, that this is her destiny, when they all know it's quite the opposite. And they were talking like it was quite the opposite just days ago. She wasn't the one, but she's the one now. It was very different with Obama, starting with his speech at the DNC in 2004. That's really where everybody took notice, and, there's the rising star in the Democratic Party, And not a lot happened nationally for a minute after that. But then it caught fire, and then there was this, all right, hey, he's the guy. And there was this calling for him. And then it got, Hillary decided she was going to get in. And then that primary, which was legendary, and Democrats couldn't, it was all identity politics. No, first woman. No, first black president. No, first woman president. And Warren Buffett giving equally to both campaigns because he can't commit. And ultimately, the calling ended up being much greater for Obama, and he won the primary and became the candidate and a two-term president. It was never that for Kamala Harris. It was quite the opposite. And I keep repeating this, but it's important to remember that she dropped out at December 3rd, 2019. She didn't even make it to Iowa in 2020. By 2020, she was done. She was picked by Biden. So this was, again, never has been a calling. Wasn't a calling. But you can't leapfrog over Kamala Harris. You had no choice. So let's make it up as we go along. And that's what they've done. They're trying to build something that isn't there.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
After fuel, an owner-operator's second biggest variable cost is tires. To save, get as much life out of them as possible with good habits. Maintain proper inflation. It's free and easy, yet it's the highest saving maintenance you can perform on the truck. Improper inflation is by far the greatest reason tires fail early. Perform routine maintenance. If a technician can by hand initiate irregular movements in tie rod ends, kingpins, wheel bearings, and torque rods, that spells trouble. Fight irregular wear by replacing suspension components. On the steer axle, change your shocks at least as often as you change your tires. On the drive axle, replace shocks halfway through the tire's life, and when the tires are changed too. Finally, employ good driving habits. You have full control here. More conservative driving over rough surfaces helps reduce wear. Speeding, hard braking, curbing, and tight turns cause tires to wear fast. On the other hand, steady acceleration, braking, and steering can extend the life, saving a bundle. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section on the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, this looks like the latest ad from the Trump campaign, and this looks like this is a TV ad because it's exactly a minute long. All right, and this is something that we've said you got to hit inflation, you got to hit the border, and on the border you talk about also can she protect America, which is foreign policy. This is actually their foreign policy ad that is quite effective, and I'll start it out. We'll play it, and then I'll tell you what they actually say. What's written on the ad. You can only hear what they're saying, of course. What's written on it, we'll make sure we let you know. Here we go. And it says, meet radical leftist Kamala Harris is what you hear it from. Okay.
President Biden always said that he wants you to be the last person in the room, particularly for big decisions. He just made a really big decision, Afghanistan.
Yes.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
And you feel comfortable?
I do.
The Taliban are now in complete control of Afghanistan.
On the issue of Afghanistan, we have seen a successful drawdown of the embassy.
You could see the images of the helicopters from both sides gone 1975 to Kabul.
It's really something to see. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe.
There must be an immediate ceasefire.
Can she go toe-to-toe with Xi Jinping, with Vladimir Putin, with Kim Jong-un, with the Ayatollah if needed? That's what this election is all about.
Democrats, we are delivering big time.
It says, do you trust Kamala Harris to protect America?
Right.
Interesting how they say, that the last part of it where they actually use her voice. And I don't believe there's any laughter in this one. Here we go.
Delivering big time.
There you go. Democrats, we are delivering big time.
Mm-hmm.
They know, and no laugh in that one.
No.
Which is interesting. Because, look, all of these are focus group.
Oh, yeah.
All of these
everything.
Everything is tested, and that's why
every syllable, every word.
But you view it, and it's like, okay, do they realize that you don't put the laughter in? Because my question would be, do you put the laughter in as if she's unserious? They decided not to. They decided to say, okay, this is her being serious on foreign policy that she's completely wrong on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If you're going to do a serious ad here, then maybe you keep it serious and the laughter is another ad, or you let social media do the laughter thing, which they are doing.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here this morning. Man, there's so much audio here I'm going through right now. Let's get to, because we want to touch on it, the Secret Service hearings yesterday. Here's Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe.
One of my first actions as acting director was traveling to the Butler Farm Show site to better understand how our protection failed. I went to the roof of the AGR building where the assailant fired shots, and I laid in a prone position to evaluate his line of sight. What I saw made me ashamed. As a career law enforcement officer and a 25-year veteran with the Secret Service, I cannot defend why that roof was not better secured. To prevent similar lapses from occurring in the future, I directed our personnel to ensure every event site security plan is thoroughly vetted by multiple experienced supervisors before it is implemented. It is clear to me that other protective enhancements could have strengthened our security at the Butler event. As such, I have directed the expanded use of unmanned aerial systems at protective sites to help detect threats on roofs and other elevated threats. I've also directed resources to facilitate our protective site communications, particularly our communications with our state and local partners. In addition, I have instructed the asset request for Secret Service protective details to be approved expeditiously and have ordered the maximum use of requested personnel at protective sites to address this heightened security environment. I've heard your calls for accountability, and I take them very seriously. And given the magnitude of this failure, the Secret Service's Office of Professional Responsibility is reviewing the actions and decision-making of Secret Service personnel in the lead-up to and on the day of the attack.
All right, let's get to there was so much yesterday. Let's get to Ted Cruz and his questioning yesterday.
I agree with what you said at the outset, that the individual Secret Service agents demonstrated remarkable personal courage, putting their bodies in between the line of sight of the shooter and the president. That being said, the bravery of the line agents is quite different from the decisions of Secret Service leadership. Secret Service leadership committed catastrophic security failures, indeed the worst security failures for the Secret Service since 1981, since the attempted assassination of President Ronald Reagan. It is incumbent upon this committee to determine why those security failures happened. Just after the shooting, Secret Service put out an official statement from your spokesperson that says there's an untrue assertion that a member of the former president's team requested additional security resources and that those were rebuffed. This is absolutely false. In fact, we added protective resources and technology and capabilities as part of the increased campaign travel tempo. Was this tweet accurate?
With respect to Butler, Pennsylvania, it is accurate, sir.
It is accurate that the Trump team had not asked for additional security and had not been rebuffed.
If you're talking about Butler, Pennsylvania, all assets requested were approved. If you're talking about the media reporting of assets requested, there were times when assets were unavailable and not able to be filled, and those gaps were staffed with state and local law enforcement tactical assets.
So I'm reading from the Washington Post, July 20th, 2024. Secret Service said to have denied requests for more security at Trump events. The opening paragraph, top officials of the U.S. Secret Service repeatedly denied requests for additional resources and personnel sought by Donald Trump's security detail in the 2 years leading up to his attempted assassination, according to 4 people familiar with the requests. Is that right, that repeatedly the Trump detail asked for more resources and repeatedly Secret Service leadership turned that down?
That is not accurate, Senator. Assets are requested. There's a process that is made. And
how many requests did the Trump team or the Trump detail ask for?
I can get you that number in a queue.
You don't know now.
So I can speak to the ones that reported in the Washington Post, and we can go through them if you like.
But you don't know how many requests there were.
In general, how many requests since 2021 that the former Trump detail has made a request for assets?
You've had 2 weeks. You had a spokesperson put something out that is false on its face. By the way, did you approve this statement when it went out?
I don't know if I did or didn't, Senator.
Has this spokesperson, is he still employed? Does he still have a job?
He is still employed, Senator.
So he lied on behalf of the Secret Service. He still has a job. Did your predecessor, the former director, did she approve this statement?
Senator, our comms team, they send out statements. They do deconflict them and they put them out.
Did she approve this statement?
I don't know if she did or did not, Senator.
And you don't know if you did either?
I don't recall approving it, Senator.
Will you commit to provide this committee in writing every written request for additional resources from the Trump campaign or the Trump detail and every response from Secret Service?
Senator, I will commit to providing responses and getting you the information that you are seeking.
May I ask you something? And who makes the decision to deny those requests? Did you make that decision?
Which requests? Are you talking about the ones that were in the Washington Post?
Yes.
So the process, sir, is that a detail will make a request for either staffing, technical assets, that is handled between the field office and the detail. It goes up to a logistics office between our
Okay, so there's a bureaucracy. Is there a decision maker?
It's not a bureaucracy, Senator.
Give me the
it's a
person
process.
that's a decision maker. Is there one?
Senator, it's a conversation. It's not just an absolute yay or nay.
So let me tell you what I believe. I believe that the Secret Service leadership made a political decision to deny these requests. And I think the Biden administration has been suffused with partisan politics. Did the same person who denied the request for additional security to President Trump also repeatedly deny the request for security to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whose father was murdered by an assassin and whose uncle was murdered by an assassin? Did the same person make that decision?
Senator, what I will tell you is that Secret Service agents are not political.
Okay, you're not answering my question. But you know what? Leadership appointed by the president, leadership appointed by the president is political. I have a simple question, yes or no. Did the same person deny the Trump request that also denied the RFK request? That's a yes or no question.
Senator, that is not a yes or no question. One, there is a process for a candidate nominee to receive protection.
Does the buck stop anywhere? Does the buck stop anywhere?
Bipartisan process that the Hill participates.
It's a bicameral, bipartisan process. What cameral?
For a candidate,
you are not a Congress. You don't have a cameral.
Mr. Kennedy submitted a request that was referred over to the CPAC.
Okay, you're refusing to answer the question. Let me ask, because the failures on that day were catastrophic. By the way, is it true that on the day of the Butler event that Secret Service transferred agent from President Trump to the First Lady?
No, sir, that's not true.
That's been widely reported.
It's not true. There was one airport agent that actually went on the manpower request for the Trump detail. They handled the arrival at the airport.
What was the relative size of the Trump detail compared to the detail that is assigned to the President or the First Lady?
Senator, the former president travels with a full shift, just like the president.
So the exact same size? Is that your testimony, that President Trump had the same size detail that President Biden has?
On the day of in Butler, the agents surrounding him, it is the same number of agents surrounding the president today. There is a difference between a sitting president who also not only
Hold on, you're using president in a way that is not clear. Is it your testimony that in Butler, Pennsylvania, Donald Trump had the same number of agents protecting him that Joe Biden has at a comparable event?
I'm telling you the shift, the close protection shift surrounding.
That's a yes
what
or
you
no.
asked me, Senator, and I'm trying to answer it.
You are not answering it. Is it the same number of agents or not?
Senator, there is a difference between the sitting president of the United States.
Then what's the difference?
The difference?
2x, 3x, 5x,
National
10x?
Command Authority to launch a nuclear strike, sir.
I'm not
there are other
asking.
assets
How many
that
more
travel
agents?
with the president that
Sir,
the former president will
you are
not get.
refusing to
but
answer
the number
straight.
of Secret Service
Sir,
agents protecting him.
Stop interrupting me.
Go ahead,
You
Senator.
are refusing to answer clear and direct questions. I am asking the relative difference in the number of agents between those assigned to Donald Trump and those assigned to Joe Biden. I'm not asking why you assign more to Joe Biden. I'm asking, is the difference, is it 2x? Is it 3x? Is it 5x? Is it 10x?
Senator, I will get you that number. So you.
Okay, so the answer would be yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and you answer the question yes because of the nuclear codes.
Yep.
You know, yeah, that's how you should answer it. But everything is like, the problem is everything is pulling teeth.
And the reluctance to answer these questions, which are simple, most often simple yes or no questions, or a number, a very clear number, shows you again the mindset. And we've talked about this mindset and how dangerous it is for years. And Butler, Pennsylvania was one demonstration of just how dangerous it can be.
And then, of course, there's Senator Kennedy and his questioning about the bullet after Ray and his testimony last week.
Yeah.
That just infuriated people. It's like, well, we're not sure. It's like, then they came out, oh, yeah, it was a bullet.
Yeah.
It was a bullet, whether it was a fragment of a bullet of a bullet. It was like,
but it was a bullet.
God.
No, I'm serious. This is how they play their game.
And so this is Kennedy basically getting very sarcastic at that moment.
You're sure?
Yes.
It wasn't a space laser.
No.
It wasn't a murder hornet.
Absolutely not.
It wasn't Sasquatch.
No, Senator.
It was a bullet.
It was a bullet, Senator. 100%.
Fired by crooks.
Yes, sir.
That hit President Trump in the ear and almost killed him.
100%, Senator.
Okay.
Because what Senator Kennedy is getting at is the ridiculous nature of this whole thing.
Ray knew it last week.
Yes,
he knew it was a bullet.
Of course he did. He had to throw that out. That was one of the hardest troll moments. You know, it was frustrating because I'm sick and I'm watching this, and it just, it's the nature of the beast, and and the facts don't care if you've got COVID apparently, and I'm watching that whole thing play out. I decided to take a break and watch the remake of Magnificent Seven. And then Chris Pratt's character shoots a guy in the ear, and my mind is back on. No joke. No joke, 100% true. And I'm like, dang it. And I had to pause the movie and go back to the facts, the reality. And this is the very reality. And by the way, then it wasn't, a day or two later, the FBI, we want to sit down and do an interview with Trump. And then it came out that there's actually going to be an interview, a victim interview on the whole thing, which, yes, from, if you step back from it, it's like, well, that's typical. That's going to happen.
You're
right.
You said it yesterday.
Right.
You said I'd be careful if I was Trump. Off the air, you said it to me. I'd be careful as Trump doing that interview.
Actually,
because...
if I were Trump's lawyer, we're gonna walk this very slowly. Because we're not about to have another Michael Flynn situation. And I don't trust it at all, especially after Director Wray and that comment. No way.
And somehow the Republicans have to market the fact that this is just a microcosm of everything in government is broken.
Yeah. Yes.
If you can't
exactly.
do this, then everything in government is. That should be part of their.
Yeah.
I haven't decided how you do that precisely.
Yeah.
But it has to be a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Did you see that MSNBC contributor, the analyst, saying JD Vance's comments on childless cat ladies show that he only wants white children in America?
Yeah. Wow.
They had to advise.
They had no idea.
No idea. The
makeup of his family.
Nope.
Seriously.
Of his children.
Right.
No idea. My
Yeah.
God. Which is, again, why when they bring that up, they should Vance should pound on identity politics and the racism. And again, it's something that has been on my mind for the last week because it is frustrating that when you're handed something like racism and they still use it against you as she was doing against Vance, when it's a complete opposite, where the racists are clearly the Democrats through identity politics, judging people as by the group that they're in instead of individuals. You saw it last night with as we played the women, or 2 nights ago, white women for Paris.
Yeah.
They've got tons of white guilt because they understand they're racist.
Yep.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. Good morning.
Hello.
Wow, just went to X here. I didn't understand it for a second. I was like, what are they talking about? Oh. And it just said this: condolences to Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib during this difficult time. I'm like, what happened? Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
The 2 leaders of one in Hamas, one Hezbollah being killed by, and most likely the Israelis.
Yeah. The leader of Hezbollah, Israel has made a statement on that. The leader of Hamas, not just yet, but leader of Hamas killed in Iran, which is a very interesting, if you look at this, it's kind of a 1-2 punch from Israel. And then, of course, you have to anticipate what the response might be from Iran and or Iran's proxies, being Hamas and Hezbollah. But it is very interesting, and this is something that Israel vowed to do, to go after the leadership, and it is something that can be very effective. But I think right now, given the state of, and this is interesting how it brings back, the support that Hezbollah and Hamas have here in the States, which is unique to the Middle East conflict of the past, or it's unique to what's going on right now and different from the Middle East conflict of the past. That's a different dynamic. Because if Iran thinks, all right, well, look, politically, you've got now a new nominee for the Democratic Party in the U.S., And she is certainly on our side. And we can act out against Israel and be more aggressive than we could in years past in a situation like this. And we'll see, I guess, if Iran feels that way. I think they'll clearly act through their proxies, being Hamas and Hezbollah. But we'll see. But killing the leader of Hezbollah on Tuesday in Beirut, and then in Iran, killing the leader of Hamas. And it's a pretty big deal. And I think there have been a few people on social media that have been pointing this out. Look, there's something brewing in the Middle East with the potential to really rise.
Oh, yeah.
And get very heated very quickly. That's been the case for many years, but this is different again because of what I point out. The dynamics are different politically, and Iran knows that. They know that there is more political will in the U.S. in their favor than there has been in the past.
Well, I mean, the insanity still continues. I mean, Harris was out there yesterday, didn't take any questions on it, but no,
right.
We defend Israel's right. We defend Israel's right to defend themselves, but still looking for a negotiated two-state solution.
Right.
Shut up.
Yeah, right.
Golly.
Right. Yeah. It's just it's just becoming cumbersome, and
nobody wants the two-state solution. Neither side.
Yeah.
Wants
the
it.
would-be two states aren't asking for a two-state solution.
Right. It's like the two states aren't asking for a two-state solution.
Exactly.
I mean, a great way to put it. And it's like, and that is because she's trying to appease the pro-terrorist narrative that many Democrats support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's
that Israel. She's trying to make the moral equivalency between Hamas and Israel. We defend Israel, but we must talk about the moral equivalency about both. No, you don't.
There was something I saw. It was just the headline at Real Clear Politics by Brendan O'Neill. It spiked, "Why is it only escalation when Israel retaliates?"
Yeah.
I mean, but that is because that's where, again, the left media is. Washington Post having to come out and correct what they did. But this is who they are. This is, it was unintentional, or these are unintended consequences, or these are no, it's fully intended. They are activists in the media. We know of the activists that are actually out there on the streets. We saw, everybody witnessed it at Union Station. And there is no question where Kamala Harris stands. And it is dangerous because of what I mentioned. Iran, this empowers them. There is no doubt in my mind about this. This empowers them because they know there is a greater political will in their favor to strike out again against Israel. And it's only a matter of time before they do anyway, but that political will here in the U.S. is a big deal. It drives decisions, and the level of the strike may be very different. That's the most dangerous part of all of this, and always has been, of course. And then you get to of what's going on in the Middle East, and then you can also apply that domestically as to what operatives might be here and what they might be planning on American soil.
Well, you and I have always talked about when Trump killed Soleimani, and remember how the left reacted here in the country. They were against it, but we had said no, that's extremely effective. In fact, remember when he was going to attack sites in Iran, or everybody thought, and he backed off, and it was like, oh, he's a coward. He's a coward. He won't go after Iran. I mean, that's what the left. The funny thing is, when you look at Kamala Harris, for example, and how she's flip-flopping, you don't hear any outrage.
No.
And we've always asked the question, do Democrats agree on anything? accept the fact that they want power. And I believe they do agree on the radical things that are happening. They just agree with the lies that are going on. But I just would like to put that question to liberals out there because they're so quiet. They really don't talk. And when they do, you get the elite insane as you got with the what was it? I almost said the bros for no, it's not the bros.
White dudes
it's
for
the
Kamala.
white dudes for Kamala and the white women. I mean, that was still the best.
Oh my
white
gosh.
women for Kamala. And these people are just a bunch of self-loathing racists.
Yeah.
You know, you can see it in there. And
They're
and
obsessed with
and
it.
then the confusion. The one guy, I don't know who he was, the one guy that we played yesterday that said, and we have all shades of white here. It's like a rainbow.
A rainbow of
It's like
white people.
A rainbow of white people. I'm just, so they're all gay whites then. It's, I mean,
right.
what are you trying to say?
Right,
What's the point?
Who are you trying to appease at the moment?
I mean, they're just blurting out statements. I mean, that's what the party has become.
Yeah.
Because their beliefs are so radical. I mean, and the things that they, for example, MSNBC contributor Molly Young-Fast yesterday on JD Vance. Are you ready for this?
All right.
Here we go. Because this was like, she had to shut off her social media.
Yeah.
After this. Here we go.
The stats are there. More and more Americans choosing not to have kids, which again emphasizes why JD Vance's comments about childless Americans, childless cat ladies, could be so politically damaging.
Well, so what's interesting is this natalism that comes from an authoritarian playbook, right? That there need to be more white children, right? That's the idea that there's, this is about great replacement theory, racism, right? This is what this is. So don't misunderstand it for him wanting more children. He wants a certain kind of, racist thing.
She has no idea.
She has no idea.
He's the father of 3 biracial children.
Clueless.
Just amazing.
Zero self-awareness.
And she had just, this is how clueless they, and the thing is, though, if that's somebody who's in the media, the commentators, and how clueless they are, think about the voters out there.
Yeah, right.
She's an MSNBC contributor.
No, she gets paid for
right. She gets to
not thinking.
right. She gets paid for not thinking. So understand the voter out there and why we say communication is so important. Mm-hmm. Let's get through some more audio cuts from yesterday. This is Scott Jennings, and this is as the Kamala Harris rally is going on in Atlanta
tonight. What do you think the Trump camp's play is here?
Well, I think their play, I've heard people say this is not about the past, it's about the future. I think some of their play is it's about the present, and the present vice president of the United States is going to have to navigate her record sitting right beside Joe Biden in the White House as they have overseen historic inflation, overseen historic crisis at the border. I mean, people have real quality of life and cost of living concerns. That's the present reality for most working people in Georgia and in every other swing state. And I also think they're going to talk about what Kamala Harris has said in her own words. Confiscation of guns, banning fracking, having violent people vote in prison. She's got a long liberal record, and I don't think there's going to be too many Republicans in Georgia sign up for that. So I think what Trump and Vance are going to talk about is present conditions, what her plans might look like, because it's what she said she wanted to do when she ran for president in the first place.
Well,
and they hate, boy, I'm telling you, CNN, those anchors just hate Scott Jennings. They absolutely hate him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
Yeah. And he's had some pretty gut punch moments as of late, but the problem is that you build this out. It's what we're seeing here in this so-called rise of Kamala Harris is what the Democrats have been doing all along. It's a facade. What do they actually believe? What do they actually want to do? What would she implement as policy? And this is why it's important. You mentioned earlier, and I think you're right about this, they're kind of building this fortress around her, so you're really just seeing her give the speech or whatever at the rally, and she's waving, but they're not going to do what they were doing with Joe. Remember, in the last days of him being in, the media wanted to test him at every turn. The liberal media wanted to test because they wanted him gone.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted sit-down interviews to see if he could answer questions on the fly. And we saw that repeatedly. Any interview with Kamala is going to be the whole, go back to the old Barbara Walters, the Kamala Harris you may not know.
Yeah, I don't think, because as you've seen, she hasn't done one interview or taken one question.
Right.
Since, and now we're into 10 days of it, which is, the fact is they realized that they had no choice with Biden, but there's just so few months left before the election that their goal is to have her completely and totally scripted, not answer any questions. Any media interview she does will be with extremely friendly media.
Yeah,
and
it'll be softball.
And I do think that there's probably a point where we're at right now where even the friendly media didn't want to interview her with the conditions that were put forward, because I do believe they want every question that the commentator would ask, filtered through the campaign before it gets to her, that she would know every question and how to answer it. I don't believe she's going to do many interviews at all, unless the polls start reversing and they find there's a desperation because people say, well, we don't know what she thinks. It's always scripted. She never does it. And then you have the Republicans hit her. I'm still amazed by Trump saying, why Trump wouldn't say, oh, we want to debate her, why he's hesitating and hemming and hawing. That was a criticism I saw from Republicans yesterday, saying, don't let Trump wing it. But then again, you had Laura Ingraham that was pounding that question over and over again, as if that was of critical importance to her that he debate.
Right.
And it was just like that, for example, I'm like, okay, that wouldn't be a question I would ask Trump. I'd be hitting Trump on policy.
Right.
Over and over again. What do you plan on doing here? What do you plan on doing this? But again, what they on Fox News find important even at times, because again, I don't really watch much television news. I see the shows and the audio that comes up on YouTube, so I'm able to pick and choose what I want. But I haven't been a fan of Fox Primetime for a long time. And number one, I'm asleep.
Right.
But number two, at times, I'm just like, come on. I think they ask the wrong questions. I think they set up the wrong premises a lot of times. But that's just, other people differ from that. They're the number one, news network, so a lot of people love it. But
saw the headline where they crushed it in July.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people are watching the Olympics, too.
Well, exactly.
And I'm not.
So well, and we've talked about this over the years. It's very different than what we do. And it's television, first of all, is very different. But beyond that, they're looking to put out something, and it's resonating with an audience. That's fine. I just don't. If they've got something that is useful, I find it. I don't sit there and watch it. My parents will still watch. They'll watch everything. They watch Bret Baier. They watch Cavuto. They'll watch some of the primetime, depending on the day. But for me, you and I go out and we seek things, and then we're looking to break it down for our audience in a different way and have a conversation and presentation in a different way for a different purpose. But and the part of the problem is you have somebody on like a Donald Trump, you're going to want to make a moment for you, and I want him to talk about what he's going to do. That's what I'm looking for out of the candidate. And, I don't know how many more here's the thing. We've said it in the past. He is, to a fault, he will sit down with anybody and talk to the media. Well, right now, that needs to be tempered. Get out there, campaign, put the ads out, but be careful about all the interviews.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Harley Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, have you seen the new Kamala ad? This is from the Kamala campaign, saying the choice is different. On the border, the choice is simple. Kamala Harris is fighting to fix our broken immigration system. Donald Trump is trying to stop her. I mean, it's laughable, but here we go. You ready?
All right.
Here's the ad.
On the border, the choice is simple. Kamala Harris supports increasing the number of Border Patrol agents. Donald Trump blocked a bill to increase the number of Border Patrol agents. Kamala Harris supports investing in new technology to block fentanyl from entering the country. Donald Trump blocked funding for technology to block fentanyl from entering the country.
By the way, Donald Trump blocked nothing.
He didn't do anything.
He's not in office, but here we go.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris supports spending more money to stop human traffickers. Donald Trump blocked money to stop human traffickers. Kamala Harris prosecuted transnational gang members and got them sentenced to prison. Trump is trying to avoid being sentenced to prison. There's two choices in this election: the one who will fix our broken immigration system and the one who's trying to stop her.
There you go.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm sure people are going to buy that. The guy who has been screaming build a wall for years.
Right.
Yeah. He's the one that wants an open border. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, you're totally delusional if you think you can sell that one. I wouldn't have even spent any money on that one.
That's the first ad that I've seen. That's her first ad
And
is, I'm better on securing the border than Trump.
And the reason is because they see that the border's the number one issue. And so they felt like they had to get it done. But, wow, that was a waste of money.
On our website, RedEyeRadioShow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, I looked at that ad, and I went, because the RNC actually is where I saw it. They're the ones, think about this, the RNC promoting a Democrat ad. Say, this is the Kamala Harris ad on the border. Look at this. Mm-hmm. But you go to not that where the comments are, you know, where they, what do you call it? Requoted it, not requoted it, because they requoted it. That's what they did, because they quoted on it. This is her latest ad. And they went through, this is what she did. Then they played the ad, but the ad came from the Twitter site, the X site of the Harris campaign. And I went and looked at those comments because that's her campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And so you expect, great. It probably was 6-7 to 1 criticism.
Yeah.
And the only thing that came up was, well, Trump blocked the bipartisan border bill. Trump didn't block anything.
He wasn't in office.
Yeah, he's not in office to block it. You may say he was against the border bill, but why was Trump against the border bill? Because it weakened the law, the federal law on the border from what it is already in return for promises of more cash.
Yep.
And that's why it weakened current border law. But it's, the RNC saying, look, here's this ad.
Yeah.
And does any Democrat actually buy? This is what write to me. But do whatever. If you don't want to call, that's fine. Does any Democrat actually believe that Kamala Harris wants to shut down the border more than Donald Trump? Wait a minute. I don't want to limit it to Democrats. Does any human being, does any extraterrestrial who is here
Do any great white sharks believe that?
From the future, believe that.
Is there an amoeba that believes? It really is the worst. Number one, they saw it as, look, this is the biggest thing coming back at us, so we have to go at this first. I'm convinced of that.
Is that? Excuse me. Here is that the first political ad you've seen?
It's the first one I've seen.
Yeah, it's
so
the first one I've seen.
First one that's really getting any traction.
Right.
Thanks to the Republicans. but the approach would be, all right, look, we're going to have to spend some money here. We're going to have to show that she's strong on the border somehow. And that's all they got. They spent their money on that. I mean, seriously.
I just want to know how receptive anyone is to that narrative. Does anyone believe any life force that exists in any form? Hey, campaign manager of the Harris campaign, do you actually believe that Kamala Harris wants to shut down the border and control immigration into this country, illegal immigration, as much as Donald Trump does? So we're not just putting this out to humans out there. Any life force in existence, whether intelligent or not, and that includes some human beings, we'd like to know. Does anyone believe? Does the most loyal Kamala Harris supporter believe that she truly wants to shut down the border and have immigration control like Donald Trump? Anyone?
Because ultimately, you're trying to convince everybody outside the base. The independents, the undecideds.
Right, because anybody who's a liberal Democrat knows she's lying.
Yeah, and they're okay with the lie.
Yeah, they're okay with the lie. Right? Are we correct on that, Democrats? You're okay with the lie?
Yeah, you have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen any outrage about it. I haven't seen any outrage about any of their lies.
No, none.
The
Zero.
only outrage that we saw from the left that was outrage about lies is when the campaign, the former Biden campaign, and the Biden White House was saying he's fine. Ultimately, they became outraged about that, if you want to call it outrage. They were upset about it, and they did something about it. But they don't get outraged. They are absolutely okay with the lie. All the lies. Doesn't matter if it gets us the win. We just need other people to buy the lie. We don't buy the lie. We're hoping somebody else will buy the lie. And I don't know who that would be. What independent looking at this? Hey, remember the guy who's been screaming build a wall for years? He's not tough on the border. She is.
Yeah, I just want to know, does any Democrat believe it, or do you understand that it's just a lie to get elected? But again, that's where this, again, is more evidence, more of the circumstantial evidence that we use to show that Democrats believe that people are idiots.
Mm-hmm. And it's because it honestly, it's like one of the white dudes for Kamala wrote the ad.
They had Jeff Bridges write the ad. Hey, dude, could you write an ad for her?
I mean, come on, man. I'm a white dude, and, I'm for Harris, man. So, yeah. It is...
There are many shades of whiteness
it's
here.
It's a rainbow of white people.
A rainbow of whiteness.
Wow. if you listen to the phrasing in the ad, they can't get specific. They're implying that Donald Trump did something that he didn't do. He was against it, and he was against it you pointed out the very clear reason, because of the permanent changes in terms of the authority to open the border that would have, in exchange for the money that was being offered up, the spending that was being offered up. That's no deal. That's DOA.
And the American public understood it. That's why Trump didn't suffer on it.
Right.
Because they understood, okay, you want to weaken border law. You say, we'll give you more money to secure the border if you weaken it and allow legally thousands of people in every single day.
Right.
And it was like, no, that's unacceptable. No, we're not going to do that.
Right.
But they don't mention it. They can't mention the truth of it. And so if you're not going to mention the truth, if you're only going to give 10% of the story, which leads you in the direction of complete and total inaccuracy, well, then you're lying.
Right.
And that's what they're doing. Now, let's hear the Trump 30-second ad, his latest ad, attacking Kamala on the border, okay?
All right.
Here we go.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message. This is America's border czar.
Okay, and it's, just so you know, it's Kamala Harris dancing. She's dancing because this is America's border czar.
Yeah.
It's important. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's important that people know the context. Okay, here we go.
She's failed us. Under Harris, over 10 million illegally here. 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl. Brutal migrant crimes. And ISIS now here.
Do you have any plans to visit the border? You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making.
Kamala Harris failed. Weak, dangerously liberal.
Yeah.
Much more effective because everybody knows Trump wishes to close the border. And number two, they keep using, and you and I have talked about this, when that came out, when she said that, we said that's going to be a campaign ad. And we said it as recently as when she came in, we said when they played that with a ton of different audio from her on different topics, we said they need to make a border ad with that.
Yeah.
Where she then comes back and he goes, well, you haven't been to the border. And she goes, I haven't been to Europe. I really don't understand what you're.
Right.
Well, that's plain stupid. And that is so clear, plain stupid. And it makes no sense. Well, why would you go to Europe? I mean, it's like that shows that she doesn't know what to do. And that's an extremely effective ad.
Well, it is, because you look at the results of the current administration, and she's a part of it now, the head of it. I mean, if you think about it, she's not the president, or is she? And she's the presumptive nominee. Just throw that out there. The presumptive nominee now, and the borders are, and all of this is the results. Those are the numbers. What did the left have? What did her campaign have? They focused on one bill, and they left the biggest part of that entire equation out of their ad, of course, because that was going to work against them. So they focused on one bill. That one bill. What you heard here was the number of people coming across illegally. What you heard here is the fentanyl deaths that continue today. Those are the numbers. That's the reality. And that's what you have to do in your ads. It has to be focused on the reality of where we are as a result of this administration's policy. And she's a big part of that and would do even more if she were president. There is no doubt in my mind.
I just want one, and I don't care whether you email me, message me, whatever. I just want one Democrat to respond on the ad from Kamala and say, do you actually believe that Kamala Harris wishes to close down the border as much as Trump does, or she's lying and you're okay with the lying? It has to be one of the two, right?
Right.
Is there a third option? Oh, you're high. Okay. Forgot Forgot the third option in there. There's always a third option. Hey, I'm just high.
And again, who are you trying to appeal to with that Harris ad?
Independents. Because
you're that's the only ones you can convert. It's not going to be your base or his base.
Ignorant independents that
Yeah.
don't pay any attention at all.
Right.
That's what you're trying to do.
Right. And I have to wonder how many independents have already made up their mind. And she changes nothing. I don't know. I have no idea. That could be a very low number, or that could be the overwhelming majority of them.
Here's something in advertising. Can advertising turn you off? Can advertising have the opposite effect? An ad like that everyone knows, well, it's really, you think about it, it's the first gaslighting political ad.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? She wants to close the border. Trump doesn't.
Right.
I mean, that's to the point of not even just lying, but gaslighting. And I just wonder, can that have the opposite effect where independents go, oh, my God, this just...
Yeah, because it's not only are you lying about the opposition, you're lying about what the candidate would do. And that's the question in the mind. Well, what would she do as president about the border? Well, we all know. And trying to position it as she's strong on the border and she would close the border, and she's strong on the border, stronger than Donald Trump. Wow, you just wasted a bunch of money. That's a ton of cash you just blew.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Breaking news. Roger Waters from Pink Floyd, endorses Maduro in Venezuela. God, what a nutcase he is.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, an acquaintance of mine said, hey, you want to come with us? We're all going. All of the people that he knew and everything else goes, we're going to see Roger Waters. You want to go? And I go, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No,
thanks.
So. No, I'm not supporting him.
No, thanks.
But he's a complete, he's the biggest anti-Semite you could possibly find.
Yeah.
He's he's insane with his hatred of Jews.
Mm-hmm.
He really is.
Yeah. Right. Wow. Yeah. Incredible.
He does need some education.
He does.
And he might need some, I don't know, non-racist thought.
Yeah, maybe.
Control.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Thank you so much for being here this morning. You know what we're seeing here, and you and I think we've sort of talked about this, but not in this particular way, that one thing that I'm seeing is it is because of, maybe it's social media, maybe it's just attention span, but the fact is it's almost rapid fire things that the Democrats are throwing out, which then disappear within a day or two.
Yeah.
Like somebody brought up yesterday, you notice how weird has disappeared? That cycle was like 48 hours and it's gone.
Yeah.
It was out there, it was gone. Well, the thing is, you've got the Democrats promoting things that are just, that can be easily refuted, Or you can make the better rhetorical argument. I saw Tommy Tuberville the other day was asked, well, what do you think about the whole thing that JD Vance is weird? He goes, they say men can get pregnant. End of story. They're weird.
Right.
You end it like that.
Yeah, right.
They say men can be women if a man says so. They believe that men should share bathrooms with women. They believe women should not be playing sports if men can do it better. That's weird. And so, as you said, it's so easy. It's so easy to do it. And this is where I would in any campaign, especially for if president, in a presidential campaign, the president, vice president. Every day you sit down and go, look, these are the issues out there, and these are the cultural things that they're going to bring up. Here's the easy response. Okay, they called you weird. All you need to say is they believe men can get pregnant, and that's 99% of Democrats, including the president and the vice president, which then forces the press, if they ever get a chance to ask Kamala Harris, do you believe men can get pregnant? Do you believe men should play against women? Because they will react to what Republicans say.
Yeah, right.
And so if you say the things where you know the vast majority of people agree with you, if they say yes, they believe that, or if they flip-flop on it, either way you can use it against them.
Well, and the Democrats are playing in many ways from an old playbook. They're playing from the days back in the day when John Boehner was around and we don't like messy, and they wouldn't respond to things properly. They wouldn't immediately address things. They're also playing from an old playbook that didn't include social media like what's going on with X right now, because they're getting blasted. The white men, white dudes for Kamala, the white women for Kamala. That thing played out like a horrible disaster of a comedy for them yesterday. And that's, those days are gone when you can just throw something out there and it goes unanswered. Now, it's not that the Republican Party is perfect at responding, but the rank and file are pretty good at it.
The public on social media is very good at it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I wish the campaign could be as disciplined as the unwashed masses.
Exactly.
I had to put it that way.
Exactly.
But what you see going on here, since again she basically announced, which would have been a week ago Sunday. So we're into our 12th day here. Is the fact that everything has been rapid fire against, and mostly it's been Vance. It really hasn't been Trump. It's been Vance.
Right.
And they've sort of, it's all gone now.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about it, whether it's, you see how long will anybody be talking about, except in a sarcastic way? Because even the Daily Show just bombarded that whole thing, the white dudes. It was so horrible. The white dudes and and it's like, oh, okay. This is good racism is what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so cringeworthy when you saw it, where it was like, wow, even when you think about it, even the Obama call to her was so cringeworthy to begin with last week.
Yeah.
That was just horrible because it came off as so fake. So what you've got is, okay, the initial enthusiasm of Kamala Harris, and then the rapid fire, bam, 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 at JD Vance.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the thing that Buttigieg brought up? Oh yeah. When he brought up, Trump, because this was the narrative. Trump is the first presidential candidate to ever pull out of a debate. It's like, no, you're wrong. Biden was. He pulled
out of the whole race.
And that just blew it completely for that. That thing blew up. Everything's like around for a day or two, then the weird thing came up, and then that disappears because nothing is sticking.
Right.
And remember, on CNN, when we played the audio cut last night, the anchor asked Scott Jennings, they called him weird. Well, if these things stick, and he goes, well, it's not going to stick because of this.
Right.
What you have is a bunch of rapid. Let's actually look at the campaign. She has said, for example, that she's reversed herself on immigration. She's reversed herself on fossil fuels. And there was one. Oh, and she's reversed herself where she believes now in private health care. Everybody knows she's lying on it.
Right.
Putting out that first ad, trying to make it seem like she is more strict on the border than Trump. By the way, one of our listeners here in just the last 15 minutes brought up a great point to us. If Kamala Harris, and this is another question for Democrats, and you just won't answer our questions, or, they're not set-up questions.
Yeah, we would never do that.
But we're asking, does any Democrat really believe that Kamala Harris, as you could see the messaging of her ad, really wishes to close the border as much as Donald Trump does? But the other point is, in the ad where she claims she does that make her a racist and xenophobe? See, this is a kind of fun you can have, and more shows should be doing this. Because you make the point. Every independent understands our point and agrees with our point. Every independent does.
Well,
right?
because if you want to say you're going to be tough on the border, what's next? Tough on crime?
No, not just tougher on the border. Tougher on the border than Trump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Got to
and what's next? Tough on crime? You can't get away with that on the left. How dare you?
That's the next thing. She's tough on crime. That's
what are you going to say?
She's a prosecutor. She's tough on crime. She has a prosecutor's mentality. They've already put that out there.
We
That's
need
why
to fund the police. Well, it's actually what hurt her in the primary season with a lot of the left. She's a former cop. She's a former prosecutor. She was pro-law enforcement at a time when they were wanting to get rid of law enforcement. Oh, man. Such a conundrum.
I'm waiting for it. Kamala Harris has endorsed the 1994 crime bill.
Yeah, exactly.
And believe that's where we should go.
Next, we're going to tackle welfare reform.
Life imprisonment for all pot smokers.
That's right.
Kamala Harris, that's what she believes.
That's right.
Kamala 2024.
Oh, man. It's, again, when you don't stand for anything, when you don't believe anything, and you're all over the place on the issues. This is why they keep running into their own brick walls. Because they keep building their own brick walls.
Well, and if I was advising the Republican Party, I'd say, look, everything they've thrown at you has been things that really haven't, stuck. And the things that they do, the things that you may believe has a little bit of impact, whether it's the JD Vance thing or the weird thing, the response is very, very simple.
Mm-hmm.
You can remember these are the people that are talking about the fact that a child should be able to mutilate their genitals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Think about that. These are the people that believe that they sit there and say we wish to ban books, and that's a lie. We all know we don't wish to ban books. What they wish to do is give pornography to children.
Right.
And that's what you do. They wish to give pornography and sexually explicit. And we believe, like Americans have always believed, in age-appropriate materials for youngsters. That's it.
Yep.
And, now you want weird, you want perverted weird, they want sexualized content for 5 and 6 years olds, and that's mainstream in the Democratic Party. I don't know why they don't hit it like we do. What do they feel is the pushback to that?
I don't know. I don't know if that's something that they have planned coming down the pike. I don't know. I don't know if there's any kind of internals that are showing that's not going to work. I can't imagine why.
Well,
because you have to get down to here's where we are on the battlefield. When you had Disney and everybody else going after Florida Governor DeSantis. We said they don't understand. You're not taking on the right. You're taking on the parents. And this is a company, Disney, that relies on the money of the parents to get their kids inside their parks and subscribe to their entertainment. They don't see that. Or they don't care. But the battlegrounds are very clear. And the radical nature of the left is also very clear. And it is in full swing. And with Kamala Harris, she's at the top when it comes to radicals. So you want to define weird, go ahead. And maybe that's why the left gave it up. Wait a minute. They're going to come at us with all of this stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, because you can't really, it's easy to defeat it. But those are things that's what they've done the first 12 days. All these little things on that disappear after 2 days. Mm-hmm. But their hope is we just put that image in your mind, put that image in your mind. Well, the whole point of Republicans should be completely destroy the argument and put it back on them again to show how radical they are and the things that they want to do. Anything that they bring up, you have the argument of how radical, weird, and perverted they are. Mm-hmm. And you can get the backing of the majority of the American public on that. But when it comes down to it, that, you know, she's coming out with her first ad saying that she's tougher on the border than Trump. She can't sell that. Right. And so all the big issues are still behind you. You're talking about the first 12 days of all these things being thrown at you. What do you have? As a Harvard-Harris X poll showed, on the 20 top issues that Americans are concerned about, over 60% of the population agree with the Republicans and Donald Trump's position on it. 14 of those issues, 80% or more. 4 of those issues, 70 to 79%. And 2 of those issues, including mass deportation, over 60%. I mean, those are mind-boggling numbers when you see that. And so that's what you promote. You just promote the issues that you know are long-term issues.
Yep.
And the long-term issues are inflation, the economy, the border, which border you can tie in to national security, as they did I think it was a very well put together ad by the Trump campaign on national security, on Afghanistan, on the border against Kamala Harris. Mm-hmm. And then you can get into the cultural issues, which would be the insanity of the radical transgender movement. Weird. They say men can get pregnant. That's weird. They say you can change sexes. That's weird. They say that men should share the same bathrooms as women. That's weird. They say that men can become women and should compete athletically and deny women opportunity because biological men can become biological women because they say so. That's weird. That's perverted.
Yeah.
You throw it right back in their face.
Yep.
And it doesn't seem like they're doing better than they did in 2020, but it doesn't seem like, as Eric has said many times before, because we've taken it from 20%, always act as if you're 20% down in the polling. I think, what are you up to now, 60%?
50.
Okay, always act as if you're 50% down in the polls, which means the rhetoric that you use, the political rhetoric, is truthful but massively effective in its bluntness.
Yep. And you've got to balance the facts with that blunt presentation.
Yes.
Because the facts have to be present.
Right.
They're not going to be present from the opposition.
Yeah. They call me weird. Then you get blunt and you say, they say men can get pregnant. Mm-hmm. That's weird.
Yeah.
That's delusional. They say men should compete against women in sports and deny them opportunities because men who think they are a woman magically become a biological woman. That's weird.
Yeah.
They say that men should share women's restrooms. That's weird. That's perverted. Yep. They believe that children should be able to view sexualized content in the schools, and they call that, in general, banning books instead of what it is, age-appropriate materials. They try to make you think that the Republicans wish to ban books for adults. That's a lie, that's weird, and that's perverted.
Yeah.
I'm doing this ad lib. It's not that damn hard, Republicans.
Nope.
Sometimes I do have to ask the question, do Republicans actually want to win? 866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Drivers must always be prepared for a roadside inspection. This means drivers should always have their personal, vehicle, and company credentials organized and ready, and having any shipment paperwork such as bills of lading or hazardous materials shipment emergency response information organized and ready for the inspection official. Just an FYI, the top 2 violations written against drivers every year, as well as during Operation Road Check, are log, general form and manner, and log not current. Both are completely avoidable if the driver keeps the log accurate, compliant, and current at all times. Having the vehicle ready for inspection involves the driver conducting daily inspections and making sure any problems that are discovered are immediately corrected. Vehicle readiness also requires the company to make sure that the vehicle is current on all scheduled maintenance and that the maintenance schedule is adequate. This will make sure the driver is being given a sound vehicle to start with. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Whew. All right. I just need a rest after that.
Yeah. Well, we can't do all the heavy lifting. It seems like more and more we have to.
Well, the only reason we do that, and we do it off the top of our heads, and it is quite organized in our heads because we've thought about it for years, and we've analyzed what the Democrats have done for years, and we know what will win you independence, because that's what wins you elections, is getting independence.
Yeah.
And we know what will convince people because we know where they stand. And so all we expect is we expect the facts, but we expect the effective, blunt rhetoric to back up the effective. The blunt rhetoric itself, I don't believe, is effective for Republicans. It's based on the facts. That's what works to get independence.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. Oh, yeah, we're in a little bit of a campaign, so let's go to a call here. We go to John in Columbia, South Carolina. John, welcome. You're on Red Eye Radio. Hi, John. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, I wanted to kind of clarify a detail. The Republican marketing people seem to fall short on something here, and I just want to point this out, that their advertisements are merely pointing out facts and details that we already know. And all that does is emboldens the people who already know that. What they're failing to realize is that Democrats are Democrats because they didn't get the point to begin with. Just repointing the facts out isn't reaching them.
Well,
what
you're
we
not,
need to do is reach them.
Well, no, you're not trying to reach Democrats. The goal is not to reach. No, the goal is not to reach Democrats. The goal is to reach the people that already agree with you on the issues but haven't yet decided who to vote for.
Well, I can't imagine that anybody sees the facts and knows the details and hasn't formed a logical opinion except the Democrats. And they're the ones that if you point out that they're lying.
Well, then you haven't paid attention. You haven't paid attention to undecided.
I've paid attention.
It's been that way forever. Actually,
yeah, that's why we're saying
we go through this every political season.
Well, no. Eric's saying it's been that way
differently.
No, Eric is saying it's been that way forever. That there are undecided people.
Well, no, we're always at this point. In fact, we'll be to September, and there will be people who are undecided.
Then reach them differently. You're not reaching them. Make them realize that all you're being done is lied to. Kamala Harris makes commercials that are just lies. So, do you want to be lied to?
No, no. I agree with. No. I agree with you. That would be the marketing,
but your target group,
right? But the target group is not Democrats. Democrats know they're being.
Then I said the wrong thing.
Yeah, Democrats.
What I'm saying is the people. Who have not, for some reason, been able to figure it out, it's because you're not reaching them. Reach them differently. Point out that not just the facts, but the fact is you're being lied to over and over and over again. You need to realize you're being lied to.
Well, let me tell you this.
Not just what the facts are. The facts are obvious.
For example, when the Democrats were saying that Biden was all right, 70% of Democrats knew that wasn't the truth. So the fact is,
so you're being lied to. Appeal to being lied to.
Well, the Democrats themselves don't mind being lied to. They're okay with the lies, as we have stated. So what you're trying to reach, as we said, and I think we've agreed on it now, is independents that agree with you on the issues. For example, as we've looked at the polls here, and we brought up, you might have just tuned in last few minutes, but early in the show we talked about the Harvard-Harris poll that was done yesterday. 14 issues that Trump believes in poll at 80% or more in Trump's favor, where people agree with Trump on it. 4 of the issues, 70 to 79%. 2 of the other issues, which include, and this shows you where the public is right now, that includes mass deportation, which is both of those issues are over 60%. I think mass deportation at 65%. The vast majority of the people, I mean, you're talking, as we've always stated, an average roughly of around 70% agree with Donald Trump on the issues. He does not have 70% of the polling. Those are the people that you're trying to get. Those people that haven't made up their mind but might be leaning your way. And yes, I agree with you. As we have said, part of the bluntness is saying they're lying to you. Don't accept their lies. That's part of it. But it's the lies on the issues that you agree with. Does that make sense?
I understand and I agree, but I'm just saying pound the fact that you're being lied to, not just what the facts are, because that's what's going to reach people. If you're on the fence about who to vote for...
Okay, well, I don't think we've ever said, don't say you're being lied to. In fact, we have said over and over, we just said in the last 15 minets, use the word lie. We just said in the last 15 minutes, we said use the word lie. Go ahead.
But if you watch the ads that Trump is putting out, all it's doing is rehashing the facts. We know the facts. Explain and make it somehow come across or make it reach you that you are being lied to.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Continue to be lied to for the next 4 years?
I have no problem with that at all.
We need to get on it and make these people realize you're just being lied to, and they're going to continue to lie to you because they don't care about you. They want their power.
I agree. You push that, but also understand, and thank you so much for your call, also understand that people know they're being lied to.
Well, and that's the other thing, too, is that it pointing to it and reminding people that they're being lied to is certainly has a value. But you have to also know that we're already at the point this late in the season where everything coming from her campaign is a lie. They're building, in fact, this persona that doesn't exist. And they can only do that with lies, and that is going to be obvious to so many people. Every attempt, it's like they've got one of those massive industrial-sized fans on full blast, and they keep throwing things at it. and it just keeps flying right back at him. You know, white dudes for Kamala. My gosh, what a disaster. I mean, horrible. It's a massive failure. And we're not the only ones that see that. But again, you know, and there are plenty of, in fact, Democrats that know it. The question is how many are okay with it. And then you get into the independents. And yeah, you got to repeat. Look, you're being lied to. These are the facts. But you also have to account for a significant number of them already knowing they're being lied to. And it gets down to the willfully ignorant versus those who are paying attention. And the things that matter. The issues will always matter. The top issues right now, clearly, the Kamala campaign believes the border is the top issue. That was the first major ad that came out from them. And again, throwing it right into the fan, and it's coming back because it's laughable to try and position her as stronger than Donald Trump on the border. That's beyond laughable.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And we have no problem. We think that talking about the lies, but understand that not only have we've talked about lying, but the Republicans have talked about, from the Biden administration especially, the gaslighting that's come from them. And you've even seen it for her, too, the ad, in fact, the immigration ad, which just came out yesterday, by the way, where she's tougher on the border. Well, the surrogate should be out there saying she's lying. She's lying. And the ad should be saying, Kamala Harris is saying she'd be tougher on the border. You know what I do? I'd actually do a humorous ad. Kamala Harris just put out this ad that she'd be tougher on the border than Donald Trump, and then have an audience in hilarious laughter.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you've got to make the point in different ways. But no, we have no problem. Our only thing that we were trying to the last caller is they're not trying to convince Democrats, and they're trying to convince independents that already agree with Donald Trump on the issues. That's always been the problem. And yes, saying that you're being lied to, yeah, that's effective. That's part of being blunt, as we've said. We have stated precisely, and we have, maybe it was in the last 15 minutes, it was after 3 o'clock. I do 15 minutes. I take the commercial breaks out of it. But I was, you and I have talked about this before. Say they lie. Use the word lie, but now it's gone to gaslighting, where it's, again, that the lie is so big that you're lying. You know the people listening to you are knowing you're lying. Kamala Harris knows that everybody knows she's lying in that, but she's trying to convince some independents who aren't paying attention at all. That's what she's trying to do.
Yep.
Is the people that don't pay attention at all, and believe me, they exist out there. That's the thing that people don't understand. If you do this, or you listen to talk radio, or you do this for a living, you just assume that everybody is paying attention, and they're not.
No. Nope.
I know adult men that know absolutely nothing of what's going on in the political world at all. They have political opinions. They're completely clueless, and all they do is watch sports and play fantasy football.
And a great number of them call themselves white dudes for Kamala.
Yes. No, because they pay attention to sports, these people.
They do man stuff every once in a while.
Oh, my gosh.
Bill Burr, go do some man stuff.
This is so much fun.
This is...
What? You expect me to work all day? You expect me to stop the burglar coming through the window, and now you want me to watch your WNBA? When are you going to do something? Oh, that bit he does, and that's a couple years old on the WNBA.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
yeah. Oh, man, he's, in fact, I think it's stretched out, not the WNBA thing, but that basically that theme is stretched out over a few of his specials. It is mind-boggling to those of us who really actually care and pay attention. how many don't pay attention?
Yeah.
And then beyond that, how many, and people have different lives and different careers and everything else, you account for that. But then you get down to the group that is willfully ignorant. They will run from stuff like this. Look, it's a free world until you keep ignoring it, and then that turns into people being able to take that free world away from you. And that's the danger in being willfully ignorant. You think you're living a peaceful life. Well, you're just basically every single day risking more and more of your liberty.
The other thing is, too, you keep mentioning the issues over and over again because we do live in a time where you've seen, and that's what we were bringing up, the 24 or 48-hour hits that the Democrats are putting in. Let's throw something out. Well, you've got to remind people constantly what the number one issues are, which are the border. I know they know it, but you want to keep the more impressions you get of it. It's like if you're looking at a car, I really like that car, but you haven't bought it yet. Then you see an ad. You go on YouTube. You watch, it comes up because you searched for it, and all of a sudden there it is in YouTube, and you want to see more of it. You want to see more of it. The next impression comes. The next impression comes. The feeling for that car gets, the emotional feeling and the wanting feeling gets more and more and more. That's what advertising does, and that's what you're doing. You're doing political advertising, and you wish to remind them of where the other party stands all the time, especially when it comes near time to vote.
Yep. And, and that's it. I mean, the messaging is everything. Because you don't know who you're going to reach in one moment and inspire in one moment. And that's why it has to be repeated. It's frankly why political seasons are so long. And the Democrats are wishing that they had more time when it comes to their nominee, but they don't.
Oh, by the way, to the last caller, though, one of the things that exists now, we look at Elon Musk, buying, Twitter and X, whatever, is the fact that the fact-checking being done on that, the community notes, are just destroying the Democrats. So it's being, for example, the Kamala ad just got destroyed in the Kamala campaign, Kamala campaign headquarters page.
Yes.
It was getting destroyed.
Yep.
And so there really isn't a footing or a hold that you get on that. But the fact-checking also comes from social media. But no, I do believe the politicians should use the word lie. Not falsehood, lie.
And the thing about the fact-checking is that right now it is reality. Reality, all the issues are the very reality of everybody right now, and you can't change reality.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I look to the last caller. We understand where you're coming from. We could hear your frustration in your voice. What you're saying is they're not communicating to the top level that you believe that they can on things that aren't that hard to communicate.
Yeah,
the Republicans, that is.
Right.
By the way, just reading here from Ben Shapiro, positions on which Kamala Harris has supportedly reversed herself. Banning fracking, assault weapons mandatory buyback, ending private health insurance, decriminalizing illegal border crossings, bailing out rioters, defunding the police, jailing marijuana offenders. The list goes on. She's a liar.
There you go.
It's true. I mean, it's true.
Exactly.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.